While he should have presented a fundamental document on marriage with sobriety, Cardinal Fernandez surprised everyone with a gaffe that one would not expect from a prefect of doctrine. An out-of-place joke, uttered right in front of the international press, sparked immediate criticism and prompted some commentators to declare bluntly that he must be removed. And what emerges next is even more sensational. Stay with us until the end. When Una Caro was published, many breathed a sigh of relief, convinced that finally a clear text was coming from Rome, free of the theological provocations that had fueled divisions and tensions in recent years. The atmosphere was typical of major doctrinal outings, measured statements, calm faces, the feeling that at least for once the topic, marriage, its uniqueness, its exclusivity, had been addressed without reckless deviations, but that apparent climate of serenity was short-lived. Upon closer examination, the document immediately revealed a dual nature. On the surface, the reaffirmation of monogamy seemed unassailable, almost obvious, especially in an age when the Church is being pressured by increasingly radical cultural pressures. But delving into the deeper layers of the text, passages with a surprisingly strategic flavor emerged, where the choice of words appeared calibrated not so much to protect the magisterium as to keep it open to subsequent reinterpretations. Behind the calm style, a flexible conceptual framework could be glimpsed, designed to be reread and adapted in the future. In fact, the impression gathered by theologians and analysts of various backgrounds was the same. Una Caro offers a defense of marriage, yes, but a defense that can turn into a side door, ready to swing open at the right moment. It's as if the text chose to present itself as devout and benign, only to conceal a structure designed more for tomorrow than today. A superficial reassurance that leaves open the crucial question: to what extent is this apparent continuity really what it seems? The official presentation of Una Caro should have been a solemn moment, an institutional passage in which the prefect of doctrine soberly expressed the meaning of a document that claims to speak of marital unity. Instead, everything fell apart in a matter of seconds. Before even delving into the merits of the matter, Cardinal Fernandez chose to open his speech with a hesitant quip. He recalled an old joke he heard as a student. The Romans had their wives, but most of them also had another woman, and even another man. An irony that might have worked in an informal setting, but certainly not in front of an international audience called upon to evaluate a text dedicated to the sacredness of marital union. The silence that followed the joke wasn't just embarrassment, it was the clear perception that the prefect had just undermined the tone of the conference, slipping into that frivolity that many associate with contemporary doctrinal weakness. At a time when the Church is accused of treating with condescension issues that were once approached with trepidation, the debut has taken on a symbolic value. The representative charged with defending marriage began his speech by indulging in the very thing he should be fighting: the normalization of adultery and its more modern variants. What is striking, more than the words themselves, is the automatic way in which we now resort to a language that is complacent, almost seductive towards the world. A language that confuses confidence with pastorality, and which ends up generating a bewilderment far deeper than the laughter that didn't arrive. The website, lwanderer.com, noting the inappropriateness of the anecdote, described the joke as an unmistakable sign of the cardinal's poverty of discernment, incapable, according to the commentary, of distinguishing what is appropriate from what is trivial, what is pure from what is vulgar. The judgment did not stop at the sentence itself. The note recalls that such words are perfectly consistent with the erotic writings of his youth that still weigh on his credibility today. Hence the cutting question: what circles did the future prefect frequent to so naturally stumble upon similar conversations during his Roman years? Therefore, elwanderer.com's conclusion is categorical. Tucho must be removed. An appeal motivated not by personal hostility, but by the belief that safeguarding doctrine requires sobriety, prudence, and respect, qualities that were not seen in the episode. As for the document, what is immediately striking is its disproportionate size compared to its declared purpose. Una Caro claims to offer clarity on marriage, but does so through a textual construction that resembles a maze more than a pastoral guide. Quotes, paragraphs, and repetitions of concepts already said pile up, as if length had become a virtue rather than an obstacle. The verbosity, however, does not appear accidental. Several analysts have noted that many formulations seem carefully calibrated to leave room for future interpretation. Where traditional doctrine spoke clearly, here we find poetic images, smoothed-out phrases, and concepts presented in a flexible manner. It is a writing that does not define, but suspends. It does not delimit, but opens. Thus, the document appears to offer only a superficial defense of monogamy, while its internal structure offers a series of points that could be used for more thoughtful rereadings in the future. This verbosity doesn't clarify, but rather prepares the groundwork. The most sensitive issue addressed by the document concerns the comparison with the African world, where polygamy is not a marginal phenomenon, but a structure rooted in social life. Rome presented Una Caro as a serene response to a pastoral problem, but the dynamic that emerges behind the lines is more complex. For years, some episcopal conferences on the continent have been asking for room for maneuver to accompany situations that Catholic tradition has always deemed incompatible with the sacrament. The text seems to be reassuring, affirming that the doctrine remains intact. However, the choice to integrate cultural observations from contexts outside the Christian vision indicates a change of perspective. We no longer begin with the truth to illuminate cultures, but with cultures to renegotiate the truth. It's a subtle but decisive reversal. Behind the apparent balance lies an implicit concession, the idea that polygamy cannot be addressed with theological firmness, but only with gradualness, accommodation, and dialogue. A formula that in practice risks turning into disguised tolerance. If the Church in Africa becomes a field of pastoral experimentation, the entire ecclesial body will suffer the consequences. Thus, while insisting on the need to accompany and understand, the most serious doubt remains that clarity is being sacrificed so as not to offend cultural sensitivities and political expectations. It is this hesitation, more than polygamy itself, that reveals a church that risks losing its voice precisely at the moment when it should speak about it most clearly. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment. Amen. God bless you.